Everyone, I thought that I would talk today kind of similarly what I've been speaking about. Obviously, the main thing in my life at the moment was that I just had a baby 6 weeks ago. So, I mean, that has been the main thought and main thing in my life. But I thought I would kind of link it back to autism a bit. Now, some of you may know that during my pregnancy, and obviously since he's been born, he's actually just on the floor in his rocker right now, so if I keep on looking down there, Luke is who I'm looking at. I have been writing a book. At the moment, this is obviously a proof copy. It says not for resale, but it's my journey to motherhood and autism. Not sure if that will stay the title or not. I'm kind of debating it. Not sure. I like the cover and I like the colour, but not sure if that's going to be the title. Now, this book has been a work in progress. It goes through my journey during fertility treatment, which I know isn't every autistic person's journey. That was just my journey. And I thought I would just talk about the whole process, how it made me feel, what happened, and it's got my diary inserts in it. But I thought I would actually talk about, now obviously he's here. I obviously talk in my book about pregnancy, and I do talk about my labour and birth. Obviously every birth is different, but I thought that I would talk and kind of link it into autism and obviously having anxiety and depression, how that kind of affected things, how I dealt with things, how I coped, you know. And I thought I would kind of do a YouTube video speaking about it. Obviously Luke being here recent weeks, what I found useful, because my book isn't going to be out till next year at some point. I don't have a release date. Obviously I self-published through Amazon, so that's totally on me and when I have time to actually finish and polish it off and things, which granted with Lukey Bear being here it's not really like what my other two books were. Yeah, you kind of want all my attention, don't you, Lukey Bears? Obviously Luke taking all my time, and obviously if you watch my previous video, which was about friendships and the difficulty in meeting up with friends and getting back to messages, I mean, it is what it is. Every mum will understand. Baby is 24/7, takes up so much of your time, and obviously your whole life changes, which obviously I knew. Getting pregnant and deciding that I wanted to get pregnant, I knew this. You know, I had friends who have children, and my sister-in-law has 4 of them. How she does that, I still will never know. But the impact and the hit, it hits hard. But a couple of things that I've noticed was my anxiety went through the roof, absolute through the roof. One of my main anxieties is Luke eating enough? And I always wanted to breastfeed. Throughout my pregnancy I said I want to breastfeed. You know, we invested in breast pump, you know, really wanted to do it and wanted to breastfeed, wanted that closeness, and I did breastfeed some of the time. My anxiety through the breastfeeding for me was I didn't know if he was getting enough milk, and everyone said, oh, he will stop feeding when he's had enough, but Luke will stop feeding and he will only have taken, like, we've bottle feed now, so I mean this is the bottle that he took before he went down, and you'll notice there's still some left. So what Luke does is he will feed and take an ounce or 2 ounces, and then he will stop for a bit, want a nap, and then he'll wake up for the rest of it. This one obviously I'm not going to give him, it's been out for a wee while, but that's what he does. And then sometimes he will leave, like you say in this bottle he's left 2 ounces, but then I know how much like food he's had, so I can kind of gauge, you know, when he'll wake up, or when he wakes up, does he want more food, or, you know, is he actually hungry, or is he being fussy? You know, especially in the early weeks I had no clue. Like now as I know him a bit more, I know his cries and I've got used to that, but for me it took me quite a while to get used to that. My husband was much better than me at knowing, so I'm lucky that I do have a partner that will be like, no, he's being fussy, no, he has eaten enough, you know, this is roughly how much a baby should be eating. And speaking to my health visitor and the midwives in the start was so helpful. But that was one of my main anxieties. is he eating enough, or am I overfeeding him? Like, massive anxiety. Is he okay? Is he too hot? You know, people say you don't need room temperature things, and for me, massive anxiety, because I know myself, I feel much hotter than what my husband does. Like, my husband's constantly cold and I'm like sweating away. Like, if I'm sitting in a t-shirt like this, he will be sitting with 2 jumpers on. And I'm like, everyone feels temperature different, so how do I know? One of the advice that the midwives gave us in hospital was, Luke should be wearing 1 extra layer than what I'm wearing, or like what you're wearing. And I'm like, but I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and my husband's sitting there with 2 jumpers on. Who do we go by? Do we go by me, or do we go by my husband? Massive anxiety for me. So knowing the temperature of a room or the temperature outside, you know, that is one thing that I've noticed. I'm checking the temperature of everything, constantly checking the back of his neck. I'm like, is he too hot? Is he too cold? Is he okay? Massive anxiety for me. And I'm just going by my experience and me having autism. That's how I feel. And I'm sure that other mums feel the exact same way and they don't have autism, but I'm just going by me and what helped me. So having temperature and knowing how hot the room is. And I see all the time on TikTok, like, useless things that I bought for my baby and that I never use. One of the biggest things that I keep on seeing on TikTok was the Tommy Tippy sterilizer. For me, that solely helps me. And yes, you have to clean it a lot. Like, you do. You have to clean the sterilizer. But for me, I'm like, now I know things are sterile, and that makes me feel so much better. And it's maybe just an anxiety thing for me, but if it makes me feel better, and if you are a first time mom and it makes you feel better, do it. You know, all these things saying, oh, well, it's useless. The other useless thing that I saw was the nappy bin. We have the nappy bin with the caddy, and you like turn it and it like seals the nappy and it goes in, and then you just empty the bin. For me, that's so much easier than having dirty nappies around the place, or having to go outside to the bin, or putting it in the bin in the kitchen, and then the smell really sets me off. I've got hypersensitive smell. Even before pregnancy, that is one of my sensitivities with autism, sensitive smell. So containing that, and then when I empty it, I know I'm gonna smell, you know, the nappies. I know that. So then I can just deal with it, empty it, and then it's gone. The smell's gone. Rather than sitting with it in my kitchen. The other thing with the smell is, I honestly thought with my hypersensitive smell, changing nappies would be difficult for me. I have to change Luke's nappies instantly. Like, I can't, like, he was feeding and he pooed, and I had to change him. I'm like, I can't have him sitting in a dirty nappy. And he was fine with that. Like, we've always done that, but I had to change him instantly because I could smell him. And I'm like, I don't want him sitting in that, but because of the sensory thing for me, if I was sitting in soiled clothes, it's the same with if I wear pads on my period. I cannot sit in a pad that's dirty. Can't. The other thing after pregnancy was having to wear pads. Obviously with the afterbirth coming out for around 5 weeks for me, so difficult. I felt like I smelt all the time, and it's the same with him when he's got a dirty nappy. Have to change him instantly, but that's me. I can't. And people are like, oh, they're absorbent for X amount of hours. Nah, can't do it. No, that's just me. Luke doesn't seem to mind, but I do, so maybe that's just one of my things. Other thing that I found so useful, and I do speak about it in my book, is I do have an end page. I don't think I had it on this proof copy version. It was like, I have my baby item list. You can see that I've wrote in it what I need to add, and you can see that, oh, nothing was blank on that bit. But when I've done this proofread copy, I have blank. So all this will change. I have my baby list, and then at the back I have, that I've added, was useful things that I found during pregnancy and early stages after birth. And one of them was an app. There's various different ones, and it tracked, you put in like when he had a wet nappy, when he had a soiled nappy, how much he fed, how long he slept, that kind of thing. And for me, doing that, I could then say to the midwife, like, yeah, he's having a wet nappy X amount of times, or like he's had a dirty nappy X amount of times, he's feeding this much, and it tracked it. And I found it so helpful, because when they asked me how many wet nappies he's having, or how much food does he have, my brain, I could not remember a thing. My mind went blank, and I'm like, is he like, mine went blank. So I found that being able to track it on an app, found it so much easier. That's the other thing, that if he makes a noise, I'm instantly like, and I'm guessing that's normal. It could be an anxiety and depression thing. The other thing that I will mention, which people are starting to talk about it more, is postnatal depression. And this doesn't just affect mums, this affects dads too. And I was told, because of my mental health, of depression and anxiety in the past, I'm at much higher risk. What I have personally found, and I'm just speaking from complete honesty here, meeting up with people, or people coming to see me, and actually just going out and about. If I can't get to see someone, just going out for a wee walk really helped. If I'm just in the house, I literally feel like I am alone, and I'm not alone. I've got my husband here, for God's sake. But that's how I feel if I'm not getting out and doing things, because before I was going out and doing things, I was going to work, and even on my day off, I was having a day at home. I knew it was just 1 or 2 days that I could just relax. But obviously now relaxing is very limited. I mean, I can only relax when he's sleeping, or do my own thing when he's sleeping. But I find that if I'm not getting out and about, I feel so weepy and cry. Like, I get like that anyway. I look at him and I cry. I'm like, oh. But if I'm not getting out, and people aren't coming round, you do feel that complete loneliness and isolation. And then you start to feel sad. And I find that it comes in waves. And talking to my health visitor about that, totally normal, and my GP, totally normal, and they can help. And people seem to think of it as, oh, but you have a baby and you should be happy, and you've always wanted a baby. Yeah, that's true, but it is a massive life change. And I think for people that do have autism, mums and dads, with autism we like our comforts, and sometimes with baby you don't have time to do that thing that comforts you and calms you down after, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you are feeling a bit upset. One of my things was, if I was feeling upset or overwhelmed, I'd go in the bath. And obviously sometimes you don't have time to do that. I'm very lucky that I do have my husband, who will tell me, no, you go and do what you need to do, have a bath, sit in the bath for an hour or whatever. And I mean, he is absolutely brilliant. Cannot give him enough credit, and I'm so lucky. But I'm very aware that people don't have that, and it's one thing you do have to talk to, whoever that may be. And postnatal depression shouldn't be something to be ashamed of. Yes, you have a baby and they are the most amazing thing in your life, and you've always wanted a baby, but it is overwhelming. And it's one thing that I do really want to address in my book, and I'm trying to find a way to do that. One thing that I totally forgot to put in my first filming while I'm editing, I actually realised I forgot to put this in, was one thing when I'm talking about crying and knowing his cries. One thing that I found incredibly difficult, and I think it's the same for all moms, autism or not, is when he's crying and he won't settle. I mean, Luke is going through his clingy phase, which I did look up, like 6 weeks, like what roughly happens, like what to expect, which I found so useful, looking that up and actually having it saved on my phone, that I can actually look at week by week what should be happening, what milestones you should be hitting. Yay, there's a camera. Yeah, mommy's filming you. And like 6 weeks to say that clingy phase, crying and wanting to be held all the time. A health visitor says it's totally normal, but I'm finding it so difficult because, not being able to comfort him, especially when he's crying, and you've got things that you need to do, like you need to go to the toilet or things like that. It's so difficult, and I think
for me, when he's crying, I get really upset. Like, I get really upset when he's crying. And it's one thing I think that links in with maybe postnatal depression, you know, getting really, really upset and about things like that. But, I mean, yeah, I will say I'm lucky Luke is mostly like this. He likes to be in his mum's arms. So, yeah, another thing about getting out and doing what you want to do and meeting friends and getting back to friends, it is challenging and difficult, and it's a massive life change that I think hits everyone.
And any autistic person, if you are a parent, feel free to message me on any of my socials or on YouTube, because for me, I didn't know many. Well, I don't know anyone with autism who's got a child. But even if you're thinking about having a child, or you don't know, and there's questions that you want to ask, feel free to message me. I'll get back to you. But I would love to actually really try and have this book to be such a help to people with autism who are wanting children, thinking, can I have children? And defeating their worries. You know, you'll always have worries when you're pregnant and have a newborn. I mean, that's totally natural. But if there's things that I can address from the autistic side, I'd really love to hear your thoughts and what you would like to read, or what would have been helpful to you. One of my main things was not knowing what it was going to be like in the hospital, you know, in the labor ward, and not knowing what to bring. Am I bringing enough? Am I not bringing enough? What the hell do I need for a newborn? Didn't have a clue. And things like that I wish I'd known. You know, I really wish I'd known that thing. Yeah, I mean, feel free to message me, search me Chatty Pixie. You'll find me on all social medias.